season has gone, especially in SEC play to this point?
Yeah, I think it's gone really well. I think we're continuing to get better every weekend. Shanice has been dominant in the circle, and she's definitely been our rock. And I think her attitude and just like her want to get better each and every single time that she pitches brings a different atmosphere. And I think our defense and offense have been outstanding. So
The fact that you've had, again, somebody else step up in the circle, you guys have swung it really well. Defense has been pretty good as a whole. I mean, you've gotten contributions all the way around, right?
yeah.
Do you feel like that this team is different from last year in that way, or are they just the same or similar to last year?
Can you specify in like what specific way? Like just all of those areas?
Yeah, yes, all of that.
Yeah. I think all three facets of the game are stronger than they were last year. Yeah.
Okay. How is this team different, do you think? You're saying they're similar in that way. Is there a way that this team is different from last year's team?
I would say, last year, like we had the want to go to the Women's College World Series. I think we were a little unsure, if that was going to be something. I think we knew we were going to go to regionals and super regionals, and we wanted to go to the World Series. But this year, like we know we're making it, like we know we're going to be there. And so I think the confidence in ourselves is higher. And, I think we were kind of second guessed last year, even to be one in the SEC. So I think it's just, we have more confidence in ourselves and in our teammates.
I'll let somebody else go. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Hannah, you just talked about like your want to get back to the College World Series. What are you handling different in the regular season, knowing just how important it is to get that top 8 seed to host a super regional? That way you can advance to Oklahoma City.
Yeah, I mean, I think taking every game seriously, we played SEMO, and I think that's like, people say and look like, okay, we blew them out of the water, but it's like every swing, every ball, every single thing counts. So I think taking every little thing seriously is going to get us further than last year.
And then I didn't get to catch you at the Auburn series, but what did that series, that this late in the season, getting that sweep a couple of weeks ago, Auburn was the top of the SEC. So what did that boost you coming into another big series against Kentucky?
Yeah, so much confidence. Like we coming off that series and just practice this entire week. I mean, it has been like lights out. Like we're just like, I mean, I can't explain it anything other than just like confidence and like high on ourselves,
So do you feel like as a whole with, the transfers, the veterans, and then the rookies, the freshmen, that everybody's clicking, everybody's finally coming together on all three assets of the game?
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say, is I don't think we're at our full potential yet, but I think it is continuing to skyrocket, and I just think it's going to be up from here.
That's all I got. Thank you.
I just want to ask you about being from BB and just sort of, do you feel like you're sort of carrying the banner for the state of Arkansas a little bit?
Yeah. It's just such a blessing to be here, and it's just a dream come true to play on this awesome stage and know that I'm playing for not just my hometown, but for the Lord, and just being able to play for my home state is just like, it's mesmerizing to me. So yeah, it's amazing.
Do you have any last questions for Hannah?
Sure. Hannah, along those lines, do you feel like you were able to learn something from Braxton a year ago, being in those shoes, and what it means to play for the state or for all the people in this state?
Yeah, I think, like, I feel like kind of some little Arkansas girls can be overlooked. And I think seeing Braxton just perform at the level that she did and just the type of person that she is, I think it showed me that I can be that, and I can be little girls rocks, and I can just shine my light and shine the Lord's light through me to other people. And I think it's just awesome that there's like the game is continuing to grow, and anyone from any city, any state can play at any level. So
And the last thing I had was, you got two teams in the top 10 coming into this weekend facing off. How big is that to have, two teams, two top 10 teams squaring off? What does that mean to you and to this team to be, in that type of game?
yeah, it's go time. It's time to prove. I think who's better? I think it's going to be hitting. I think that's going to be the thing that's just going to get us through. And they're a good hitting team. We're a good hitting team. And I mean, it's go time. We're ready. So
I'll let somebody else go. Thank you, Hannah. I appreciate it.
you're welcome.
Any last questions for Hannah? All right, I'll go get coach. We just do that real quick.
Thanks, Hannah.
Hello,
Hello.
Hey, Coach, how are you?
doing good. How are you?
Doing very well. It's a good day. Ready for a good weekend.
Yeah, me too. This rain
Well,
can stay away.
yes, for sure. Coach, what does it mean when you look at someone? And I think I asked the Kentucky coach this similar question. Yeah, two number 7 and number 8 teams in the country squaring off. When you look at that, how big is that for the University of Arkansas and for softball in general to have two teams, two top 10 teams squaring off this weekend?
Well, I think it's really exciting for the sport and for our conference and for Arkansas and for Kentucky. I think that we've grown accustomed to having really big matchups in this conference. That's why we're in the conference. But it's just exciting. I think we both play a very exciting style softball. And so I have a ton of respect for Rachel and Kentucky. And so I'm excited about the matchup myself. I think it's going to be really great softball.
Would you say that would you think hitting will be more than pitching, or which side of the game can win out this week, or is that going to be what?
Well, shoot, I don't know. Sometimes you go into a weekend and you're like, it's going to be a pitcher's duel, and it's like, a slugfest, and so I don't think you ever really know what it's going to look like. I know that we both have very potent offenses. And so I would expect there to be runs scored this weekend on both sides. I don't know how many, and I just hope we have more. We'll see.
Would it be maybe a big point be to limit damage, from your standpoint as from the pitching standpoint for you guys?
Well, that's always our goal.
Yeah.
Our goal is always to limit damage, but I think when you go into a weekend like this with Kentucky's offense, I think you're like, okay, they're going to score. They're going to get theirs. They're going to score runs. And so, yeah, you're trying to limit it. You're trying to grab momentum whenever you can. You're trying to contain their best hitters. You're trying to see who sets the table for them, who gets them going, and try to control that tempo. So there's a lot of things that we'll look at for the weekend, but they're going to score. That's what they do. And we just have to keep that, lower. And I think that's what we ask our pitchers and our defense to do, is give us a chance to win. And that looks different every game.
Sure. I think you put it that's kind of what I was asking. I mean, you just try to keep them from big numbers, right? You limit crooked numbers.
Yeah, they're gonna hit, they're gonna create havoc. We always try to limit freebies, which can lead to crooked numbers. So, we're just gonna try to make them earn everything that they get.
Somebody else?
Coach, I was just looking at their stats and they really don't strike that many people out. So what advantage, like when you're coming into a weekend where their pitchers, they're looking to get outs, but they're not having success striking out. How does that help you in preparing at the plate, knowing that they're not having the ability to strike their opponents out?
Well, I think it can help. First, it's good to see you, Porter.
Wow.
I think it can help, but it also, it just depends on their strategy. I think Rachel is a master. I just think she's a master of creating outs, and I think she does a really good job strategy wise. And so a lot of times it's not necessarily pitching for strikeouts as much as it's pitching for contact and trying to create outs. Or I know they switch pitchers a lot, so it's going to look a little different if they're more accustomed to getting quick outs, not strikeouts, but they're creating an out in the first couple pitches. Then that's another thing we need to be aware of, is just how aggressively they're attacking the zone and how they're attacking the zone and what we're hunting. So, I think it's nice they don't strike out a lot. They're not overpowering, but they do create a lot of outs. So,
Well, and I kind
okay.
of asked Hannah this question. I want to ask you about Shanice, just the confidence of against an opponent like Auburn and to come into another series. Just how much does that help her in getting ready for an opponent like Auburn?
It helps her a ton. I think that she's just continued to build off of her outings and get a little bit more confidence every time. And so I think that, you can see in her composure and her demeanor that she likes the ball in her hand and she likes to compete for her team. And so I think that's what it's all about. And so, yeah, I think when you look at how offensive Auburn is and what she was able to do against that offense, yeah, absolutely. It only continues to build her confidence.
And last question, just how well your defensive playing, how much cushion does that give Shanice, knowing that, they're a top 1 to 9, they're, really good hitters. So how does that help her, knowing just to kind of not get frustrated, trust your defense and let the game play out?
Well, I think it helps Shanice and everyone is our defense is playing great behind him and our offense is producing at a high rate. So you have the ability to pitch freely. You don't have to pitch perfectly. If you give something up, then our team's going to have your back. And a lot of times when you have that understanding, it limits the damage a little bit more. And so I just think that our pitchers right now just have a ton of confidence in what everyone's doing around them. And it's allowing them to continue to get better every time they get out there.
That's all I got. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Coach, I want to ask you something that Kentucky's coach talked about yesterday. She said when she got to the SEC, if you had told her that Arkansas and Kentucky were going to be playing for a spot at the top of the standings, she would never have expected it.
Yeah.
And she talked about some of the similarities between your two programs, both of you kind of building up to that point. What similarities, if any, do you see between your program and Kentucky's at this point?
Well, why don't you guys tell me everything that Rachel said? I would love to hear everything that she said. I think she is so intelligent and does a really good job. But yeah, we were talking the other day and she was like, who would think that a game between Arkansas and Kentucky would matter? And it's just really fun. Like I said earlier, I have so much respect for her as a coach and as a person and her staff and what she's done with that program. And I think when I look at similarities, I look at, when she took over, what is this, her 16th year or 17th year? Putting you on the spot. Come on, Justin.
I want to say 16, but I don't know it for sure.
I think that she has done she and her staff have done an incredible job of building the Kentucky program. When they first got there, I think they had a couple rough years or one maybe, and then they've never looked back. And what she's been able to establish there while doing it the right way. I think that's what is always important to say. That program's all class. They do it the right way. They have a really strong moral compass, which I have a ton of respect for. And they take care of their players and they make them better, and they work really well. They do a really good job of finding the players that work well in their system. And so I think when we look at that, I think that's where we're similar. I think we find players that work really well in our system. I think we develop our players really well and we take care of them. And we have a strong moral compass in those things. So we always, all those things, I just think that there's really strong similarities that way. I think our style of play is different. She has a lot of systems in place that have worked really well for her. And so I think we get there differently, but ultimately I feel like we are both putting out a really competitive product right now, and putting our schools on the map. And so I just think she does a really good job. We've laughed before because she's talked about how she was the default hire at Kentucky. And I was like, oh, I was the default hire at Arkansas. And we are great with that because she is a perfect fit for Kentucky, and what she's been able to do there is incredible. And I would like to believe I'm a really great fit for Arkansas. And so I just think things happen for a reason, and we're in the places that we need to be, in the environment that we'll thrive in.
She's in year 15, by the way. I was one off.
Oh, dang it. I was off too, dang it.
When you look at Kentucky on paper and you know what your team's made of, you see what their team's made of, what do you feel like are the aspects of your team that are going, I'm going to phrase it a certain way, are going to come in the most handy this weekend?
Well, I do think that our offense is going to come in handy this weekend. I think that it is going to be an offensive weekend. I think that we are going to have to put pressure on their pitching staff and their defense. And I think that they are going to challenge us. They're going to challenge us defensively. I think offensively, they have a ton of tools. They very rarely are overmatched. If you watch them really closely, I think that they are, they just do a really great job of making adjustments. They do a really great job of preparing. And so we need to be on our game with making adjustments and try to stay one step ahead of them. So it's going to be a battle. It always is when you play Kentucky.
You know, we've had plenty of these press conferences this year, and your transfers early on, you had a high rated transfer class. You know what KB's done, what Ellsworth's done, and all that. You kind of seen Shanice step up into kind of what you knew you were getting when you brought her in.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like, speaking specifically to the transfers, you're finally seeing the full potential from that class and what you knew they were bringing to the table when you brought them all in?
Yeah. I've been really pleased since day one with them, because it's not always just on the field. It's who they are as people and how they fit in our system and in our culture. And they have just like dove in head first, like they just gone for it, and our team has embraced them really well. So for us, it's just not the on-field piece. It's the their full potential as humans, as people in our program. And so I think that they're doing a great job on the field. And I'm really proud of who they are as people and that they're a part of our program.
Last one for me for today. Hannah said she doesn't think y'all are at your full potential yet. Do you agree with that?
I do. I think we're getting there. I do think we're getting there. And I think this is the best we've played so far. But I still think there's more in the tank that we're getting to, hopefully soon.
Thanks.
Yep.